Good morning. Today is day 8 of my energy drink withdrawal program. Day 8, T-minus 22 days remaining. It's Friday, May 3rd. It's about 7:30 in the morning. My previous video got deleted somehow, so I'm going to be doing this again, and it's a little frustrating, so bear with me. I already in my first video drank half of this thing, but I'll just take another sip. I got through yesterday okay, no real problems. My heart was beating a little bit last night, pretty strongly, and even this morning, which typically happens when I drink a lot of caffeine, so I'm not quite sure what that was all about, but that's just another probably day-to-day variation and nothing to be worried about. I did drink a little tea yesterday, and the reason for that was I went out with a friend of mine who's a big coffee drinker, and we meet pretty regularly, and usually after we eat we have coffee. That's what we've historically done over the years, and talk about all kinds of things, and it's really fun to sit around, drink coffee, and talk about issues and things. But what I've been doing recently, when I've tried to quit before, and what I did yesterday, is I order tea instead of coffee, and then I just dump the tea in there just for a couple seconds, so it's got some flavor to it. And I think that's a good strategy if you want to blend in, if you're ever in a situation where people are drinking coffee, soda, caffeine, and you don't want to stand out by drinking just water, which you could do if you want. If you don't want to do that, a real easy way to do that is to just order tea and just make it real weak. So that's what I did yesterday. I also got another book yesterday, a book called Starbucked, and this is the story of Starbucks, which is a company that has grown into be like the second largest food chain in the world. It's grown into a behemoth company, a huge company, selling gourmet coffee. And so I'll probably be talking about that in future videos. And I think this is also a pro-caffeine book. So a lot of the books I'm getting these days are pro-caffeine book. I want to read some anti-caffeine books later, which there are several of those too. I continued reading this book, The World of Caffeine, which is a very good, as I said before, reference book about a pretty comprehensive history of caffeine into the world. And the first day, yesterday, I talked about the origins of the three main caffeine drinks: coffee, chocolate, and tea, and how tea started in China, coffee in the Arabian Peninsula, chocolate in the New World, Central America, and how they all converged onto Europe around the 1600s. Yesterday I read the section about how the various countries in Europe dealt with this influx of these caffeinated products in the 1600s. Each country had a different response to it. Obviously, the caffeine products won out in the end, and they're found everywhere there and here in the United States. But when they first came, people didn't know how to deal with it, and for a variety of reasons, whether the monarch liked it, whether the Pope liked it, did it compete with entrenched interests, particularly beer and wine, which were the drink of choice in Europe at the time? Who would profit? The medical establishment, which at the time was pretty backward. They were using the ideas of Galen, which is in the 2nd century AD, about how the body had 4 humors to it. So the medical establishment was sort of backward when caffeine came into Europe, although it advanced thereafter. And they didn't know whether it was a food, a medicine, a poison. So it was an interesting story about how it started in fits and starts in the variety of countries and ultimately won out. And the next section, which I'll read today, I hope, is sort of the social history of it, how these coffee houses and tea houses arose, and how it became just the social elements or the cultural elements of coffee. Finally, the authors came up with an interesting thesis at the end that coffee or caffeine sort of jolted Europe into action, basically, that it was a sleepy place, and that this is sort of a pro-caffeine thought that this particular drug woke them up and allowed them to create all kinds of great things. Also, with the introduction of the clock, accurate timepieces, it allowed people to get up on time, to do their work, kept them up. So caffeine was a net positive for the world in Europe in general, or for Europe anyway. And also they talk about the drink of choice in Europe when caffeine came was basically alcohol. People drank beer and wine all day, every day. And this idea that Europe was sort of a drunken place. They drank alcohol because the water was not safe to drink. So particularly beer, they would have beer soup for breakfast, which sounds crazy, but they would just drink beer all day or wine all day, everybody. So caffeine was a welcome alternative. Also, they discussed there was a mini ice age in Europe in the 1600s through 1800s, and how coffee may have helped them get through that, just to stay warm. Warm caffeinated beverages. Okay, the next section is the culture of caffeine, which I will hope to read today or tomorrow, and I'll report on that. Most of my drinking of the drink was in the last video that got lost. But I'm still on the program. And is there anything else to talk about? I can't think. I think these will turn into a little bit of book reports, which will good. It's good because it'll get me to read these things, which I might otherwise not, and learn a little bit about caffeine. Okay, so day 8, everything's going fine. Thanks for watching.